What is the what is your advice of how people who don't have autism interact with people with autism? What is the best way that we could help? I don't know, just move forward together.
That's a really good question. I think the first thing I would say for anyone with a communication disorder, and especially with autism, is that the other person needs to seek first to understand and to observe and listen to that person and see how they communicate. And then I would adjust the way that I communicate in order to help us have that interaction, that conversation. There's many people with autism, maybe 25% of children with autism, that don't develop speech. So I don't want to talk to them too much. I want to bring my language down to a really simple level. Or I may use gestures and pictures or objects as a way of getting their attention and engaging them.
Yeah. What got you into this manager program for autism?
Well, I became a speech-language pathologist. I was very interested in communication, and I was able to go to a graduate program and learn more about communication. And one of my first clients was a young man on the autism spectrum. And this was in the late 90s. So at that point, we didn't have as many people who had that diagnosis that we knew for sure. But he was a really interesting person to work with, and our interactions helped me learn a lot more about communication.
Yeah.
And then I also had a family member who received a diagnosis. He's an adult now, but learning about him and his experience in education made me very interested in working more with this population and families.
Yeah. Do you get a lot of hard cases? Is there like what's the hardest situation that you had to go through with someone?
So I think some of the hardest situations, because some people with autism have such a hard time communicating. They may not be able to tell us, if they're having pain or if they're having emotions. They may not be able to express that. And so we sometimes see individuals who really become avoidant and isolated, and they may not be leaving their home. And that's a very hard situation to deal with for the individual as well as their loved ones or family members.
Yeah.
We also know some people who are self-injurious, who might hurt themselves or become aggressive. And those behaviors are something that we want to try to understand and teach them different ways of getting their needs met, but it's really hard to find the resources and get those services for them to learn their skills and avoid those harmful behaviors.
Well, thank you for all that you do. I think it's very needed to have people like you in this field and to really help people with these struggles. It seems very, very important. So thank you for all of that.
Thank you.
I love your concept that you had of first seek to understand, and then I love that. We're doing a book club on our show with Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and that's one of his principles is the first seek to understand. And I think so many of us fail to recognize of why is someone doing that action? Why did someone say that, and immediately we shut them off or put this wall up or barrier to them instead of maybe thinking about what's causing that. So I really like that advice that you give.